mine is dead on. That is one of the biggest things I'm going through right now is like, I feel like this last massive hurdle with the lack mindset is my core fear. And it's that I will not have enough resources. I will not have enough, whether it's not relationships so much, but resources, physical, material comforts. You know what I mean? Like I struggle. I don't want to keep struggling, in the future.
Yeah.
So that resonates 100%.
I've seen you work through that.
Yeah.
Like even in some of the conversations that we've had recently, like objectively, I can tell that you're in a position where you're set for all these different things. But I still see you kind of getting trapped in your head about like, okay, but what if this, or the other thing happens? Yeah. And that's where a self-preservation instinct comes in. But that's also where I see your sixth wing coming in too, because you're like, if I'm going to move forward, which is what the whole point of wings is to move forward, then you need to have that kind of like security attached to it. And the other piece of that is your eight wing, where I've seen you advocate for yourself and your needs and get really clear about setting those boundaries down in a way that you were not able to access before.
Yeah.
So what has that experience been like for you?
Challenging, so challenging, because it's that trust and faith component. And it keeps me, when I keep in that fear and lack mindset, it keeps me from being in flow, because fear energetically blocks your vibration of receiving. It blocks my ability to see the opportunities, to see the path I'm supposed to be going for. And so, yeah, it's been really, I'm doing it though. It's the talking back, and it's just getting yourself to, it's rewiring your brain, rewiring the chemistry of, I have enough, my needs are met. I can't predict what's going to happen, but at the same time, no one can, and that's the gag. I know it. My needs are going to be met. It will work out one way or another.
Funny.
Yeah, come on in.
That's the gag from RuPaul or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just gay culture. Gag. I'm gagged. But no, but that's the whole joke of it all. You know what I mean? We think we have control, and we don't have control at all. Like, we have our choices, which give us some control, but at the end of the day, no one knows what's going to happen next. You know what I mean? But that's the adventure too. So
it is. Like, your eyes got so sparkly. You're like, take me on a little vulnerability carpet ride. Well, maybe not a carpet ride for you, but
a whole new world. Love it.
It's like I watched it in slow motion.
Not my natural playing field. Yeah.
Well,
hi. Aha moment.
So when you were talking about how being vulnerable is what makes you the best friend, like connecting with people, that's what helps you with that. It occurred to me that my entire life, because my mom worked for an attorney, so she highly valued diplomacy. And in an argument, which happened frequently because both of us are very passionate people, she always told me, like, you handle things so diplomatically. And she praised when I wasn't emotional about something. So that makes sense that I would take,
you put value in
I would equate being a good communicator to trying to lessen the emotional delivery. So I'm good at telling you what my emotions are, but I might not look like I'm feeling that emotion in the moment.
It's crazy, the synchronicity. Keep going. No, it's just, so you just met Scorpio. He had the same exact conversation. He's like, holding your emotions. I feel things, but there's power in not reacting, not allowing others to know where you're at. It's just funny
how do you
I know. I'm looking at him like,
I don't know.
It's a value. Like, he puts a lot of value.
Yeah.
But then I'm looking at him like, you're supposed to have emotion. You're like, that's okay.
Right. And that's where and it's funny because all of my messages this year is like, feel your emotions. Yeah. Don't run from your emotions. And if you have told me this last year, I would have been like, I don't. What are you talking about? But it took a minute for me to realize, like, oh, you got to feel them.
There's a manifestation piece too that's about this. Like,
yes.
You can see this all over TikTok and everything, but really your thoughts are your energy and they're your power. So when you send out the thoughts, it's really about aligning with the person, what you want, that thought, if you want, but it's all in the heart center.
Right.
And if you don't feel it, that's what the universe responds to. And I think that's really interesting. There is power in emotion, but it can be so out of control too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we feel out of control when we live in our emotions.
I'm so happy you brought that up because Daniela and I were talking about this on the way over here.
That's what the universe responds to, is how you feel. Yeah.
That's why it's coming so naturally from you and not, either of us who were talking about it. But we were talking about the role that emotions play when you are doing things like manifesting.
Yeah.
Because I think there's this really common misconception when you think about like law of attraction and manifestation, or really anything to do with this world, where you need to be positive all the time. And that ain't it, sis.
But there's something to it. And I'm going to advocate, devil's advocate right here, because it's a vibration thing, I think, too. So let's talk about toxic let's hear what you're saying more so. And why?
Because this is Daniela's box to stand on.
But I'm wondering if it makes you uncomfortable for a reason.
So no, it's not that positivity in general makes me uncomfortable.
When does it become toxic? Yeah.
The dismissal of the negative emotions.
Yes, yes.
So I heard someone say once that grief is unnecessary. No. Because death, like, you can easily access another person in the spirit world. So why grieve at all? No. You're just lowering your vibration. And I remember listening to that and being like, you are so full of shit. Like, no, of course not. So that's toxic positivity to me, right? Like, completely disregarding and dismissing.
There's a process, a natural cycle to things.
Yes.
And we need grief to get to the other side. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like, obviously a really strong exaggeration. I feel like there's a lot of feelings in between happiness and grief, but someone feeling upset or angry at something, especially if that's their natural process, which for me it is. I get angry first.
Yeah.
And that is the emotion I'm most prone to display. It's the most easily
one I'm most out of touch with. That's so funny. Yeah.
It's very easily accessible. And because of that, people perceive me, I think, as like more negative. But it's not that I'm negative. I know I can be critical.
That's just how you process, yeah.
Yes. But the intention is always to improve, to better.
Yep.
To better something. So I get even more frustrated when people are like, oh, be more positive, be more optimistic. And I'm like, I'm the solution. I'm going to fix this. You not having a fire under your ass is pissing me off. So I'm going to fix it while you sit over there and hope.
Because that's the lens you see. That's the way you're built. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's frustrating. I think people who maybe feel like they're not rainbow and sunshine, when they come into this world, maybe feel like there's not a place for them. Because, okay, I'm not over there shooting rainbows out of my ass. So, like, I don't deserve a spot here. And I felt like that for a long time. Because I was like...
It's interesting because the thing with positivity, too, it's work.
Yeah.
And it does come easier to some people. Like, I came out on a rainbow. But...
Literally? Like you got a rainbow slide and you're like, I'm gay, everybody.
Hold my stuff. But it is work too. And that's the other thing. And it is harder work for some people than others. And that's, again, me and my sister's dynamic. She is very much she approaches things. Her anger is really in place and it's just fascinating. But it's work at the end of the day. And I think that's hard for some of us. And it puts us in uncomfortable areas. You know what I mean? If that's not your natural MO. Yeah, and I hear you. And I
would say that because of you, I have learned what that looks like for me. Because, like, the hanged man principle in one of the older podcasts, I don't remember what episode that was, but the idea of you don't have to just be positive and talk positively or whatever. You can just let it go.
Yeah.
Resign to the fact that...
Release it. Yeah.
Yes.
Not like give up on it, but release into it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just allow the universe to unfold, especially when it is something so wildly out of your control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's, again, we were just saying that's the illusion. We think we have control, but we don't. At the end of the day, we have our choice, and a lot of the time the choice is to believe the best, that everything is working out behind the scenes in the realms I can't see. Spirit is moving for me. Like, it can be that simple. I may not feel great about it. I may not feel great about the situation, but I know in my heart things are working out for the best.
Right.
At the end of this, the best will come to me because of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never going to look into a room and see me light up the room. That's not me, right? No.
Bullshit.
I am like the Doberman in the back corner.
I
love
It's all perspective.
I love Dobermans. That's why I picked Doberman.
But you said
Dobermans.
Yeah.
Well, I just mean, like, a lot of people tell me
It's funny how you see yourself, but how, no.
Yeah. But, like, I think I'm like, if I were to name, but, like, I merge, I guess, the way that people constantly perceive me with how I view myself. Because, like,
fair.
if I were to say, I think I'm a black lab, like lounging in the middle of the room, but I think really, because I'm not a black cat, I really can't say that I'm like the black cat person, but it's just, I'm like constantly observing, looking. I'm not trying to bring in any negativity or cause any harm. But like, I'm just back there. Just leave me in my little, shadow. But I'm never going to turn into like a golden retriever, Like coming into this world, I'm never going to like just all of a sudden.
You are, yeah.
Right.
You get that? You're a golden retriever.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because I'm happy? I think there's more to it. What is it?
There's more to it.
Yeah, there is. And now I'm curious.
Golden retriever.
Boyfriend is what I'm thinking.
Well,
I'm curious.
I'm thinking like you are very loyal. You are very sunshiny. You are very high energy. You go and fetch things for us.
You're so funny.
And you're so getting us things. But
I see it. I see it.
From my perspective too, those are the ones that I want to closely pay attention to because
you see the value in it. Yeah.
Well, and also maybe what are you ignoring? Because like when I see there's a difference between people who look happy and people who are happy.
Yes.
And the people who look happy are the ones that catch my attention. Not you don't look happy.
No.
But like you are.
I don't.
Happy.
Yeah.
Like you're the other.
Yeah.
But people who put
there's
on
a different energy to it, right? Yeah.
Because different energy.
You can't keep up happy all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And
nor should we. That's not healthy.
And I think that maybe people who are not as connected with who they are, and when they come into this and are maybe more of a black cat or a golden, like a black lab or whatever, and prefer to kind of be neutral and not over the top and bubbly, feel that they have to force themselves into these shoes. Yeah. And they don't. And it looks
it should
contrived.
Be a state of
feels
peace,
contrived.
though. I think peace is a better word for instead of happy.
Yes.
Peace, contentment.
Yes.
And it's so funny. I think we were talking a while ago with this whole spiritual awakening. I just had the realization I've never been happier in my life where I'm at now, but I've never been sadder at times either.
Yeah.
And it's that I always think of the yin yang. You don't gain height and awareness and expansion without the expansion, the opposite, as above, so below. So you need to know the depths and the dark. The tree goes up and down at the same time. And I think that's a powerful piece too. When you can start leaning into that and being comfortable in the dark, in the uncomfortable, in the mucky parts of us, that's when you also open up, oppositely, the more depth of peace and happiness, and you make space for people and relationships that can build you up to new heights.
Yeah.
I've never been happier, but I've never been sadder in my life at the same time. But it's really, I'm just feeling. I'm feeling it all and making space for it all.
Yeah, being present.
God, it's intense though.
It is.
It's growing pains are hard. Stretching's hard.
And it's going back to, like you filming a little behind the scenes before we started, me being like happy. It's like
we were like
more energy, more passion, more passion.
Right.
Yeah.
Like people tell me that, like you need a little, like you need to bring it up a little bit, right? And it's like, okay, when I try though, it feels fake.
Yeah. Have either of us ever said that to you?
No.
Okay. Well,
perceptions.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting. There's something to unpack there. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, me and Daddy are here for you.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, sunshine. You can always talk to us.
Do you feel like you should be happy? Where does that come from? Honestly, like when you're saying like I'm never going to be that person, do you feel there's a desire sometimes you want to be that person, or the expectation is that you need to be that way to be fully rounded? Yeah, to be happy.
So what's bringing this back to Enneagram, when I'm a 1, my growth number is 7, and 7's core is to be happy, right? So it's in my growth, really, I am looking to be more positive, more whatever. But I perceive that for myself as I want to let loose a little bit.
Yes.
And not be so rigid, not be so stuck in the tiny details.
Fun is a great side of happy. Yeah.
Because and I don't know.
Lighthearted, joyful.
Right. Joyful. Because I don't know if other ones feel this way, but I have to let go of a lot to have fun. If that makes any sense.
At least, you got to.
That makes sense.
So
I'm sure they do feel that way.
Yeah. So it's like you have to suspend reality enough to like let go of these other things in order to open the door to like, haha. And I love to giggle and laugh and have fun and carry on. But there is a suspension of reality happening in that moment.
Interesting.
I don't know. You look like you're sitting on something.
I was, but I want to hear from you a little more. Yeah, what are your thoughts into this? So many.
Let me just like pour my whole heart out real quick. Really, the only thing that I have to add to what was just being discussed was every emotion, doesn't matter what it is, demands to be felt.
Yes.
And so there's a difference between embracing that emotion and telling it it's not welcome.
Yeah.
If you're going to embrace happiness, then you need to also embrace the others. And comfort in sitting in those kind of mucky feelings does not equal being happy about sitting in those feelings.
That was hard for me to learn.
Yeah, it's an acceptance of, I feel terrible right now, or I am, a good reframe for that is, I am experiencing an anxious feeling right now, rather than I'm so anxious. I think that's one of those ways that we can kind of like undercut ourselves, right? By saying that. It's the same thing if you say, I suck at math. If you say that you suck at math, then your brain is going to keep looking for reasons to prove that statement is true. And so if you can stop in the moment and be like, I am experiencing this frustration or I am experiencing this euphoria as a result of this project that I just completed. Whatever it is, like there's a certain amount of neutrality that needs to go into identifying the emotion, and then feeling it is a different thing altogether.
That's excellent.
Right. And I think that kind of circles back a little bit on the whole toxic positivity aspect and how that fits into the spirituality social realm. Because I think just because you are in this world and you have a spiritual awakening doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have a hard time.
Yeah, no, it is a hard time.
Yeah.
It is.
And
the truth is.
If you go into a setting, like a physical setting with other people, maybe you have like a tarot club or whatever, and you go in there and someone admonishes you because you are not feeling great and you're not bringing the vibes, you're not bringing love and light, it's like, you're also not seeing that person for where, who they are and where they're
That's
at.
their truth. Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean it's permanent. Like you were saying, it doesn't mean it's permanent. It could be momentary. And why are you, hold on. Just pull it back a little bit. If you want to truly help people and you're in this world for the spiritual realm to also be to help guide other people.
Healer. Yeah.
Then yes. Yeah. Then why would you turn someone away? Or having a hard moment.
That's inauthentic to who they are, and that's agree.
Yeah, especially if it is temporary. We all know it is.
Well, we all sit in different processing centers, right?
Yeah. Are we three different processing?
Yeah,
She's got, and I'm heart.
Nice.
Yeah, right.
Our powers combined.
Yeah.
They're actually making a Captain Planet. Did you see that?
Yes,
movie?
I did.
Go ahead.
No, but very happy for you. Yeah. So what advice would you offer to somebody within your same processing center if they're trying to access their vulnerability?
I'm going to have to defer.
Yours is the hardest.
It is.
So this is a great
I'm still learning. I'm still trying to understand. Like my poor sister, she's been my counselor through this because she is the feeler. Yeah. And my complete opposite in this whole season of awakening and going into my intuition is about being in my feelings, which is not easy for me. It's not easy. Not that I'm afraid of them, but I just don't know how to get there, how to process. I'm like, I'll call her, I'll text. I think I even texted you once. How do you make yourself cry? I'm like, how do you, how do I get there? So I'm going to listen to you two first.
Okay.
Heart's the easiest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. How do I access it? I say, what are you doing in there? I think a conversation that I have a lot with my coaching clients and have definitely had with you, Daniela, I don't know if I have with you, Dave, is what are you feeling and where in your body are you feeling it?
Yes.
Yeah. And then from there, it's a question of what does that tell you, right? Like if you're holding a bunch of tension in your shoulders, and it could just be adding to that generalized anxiety, right? Because shoulders are a very common place to hold any kind of tension. But if you're holding that tension, say in your sternum, that's going to feel a lot different. That's going to give you a different type of clue. So as far as accessing vulnerability for a heart type, I don't really think that's a problem. I think it's more of discerning who you are safe to share that with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I know that sometimes I will overshare my own personal emotions with people that they don't need to be in on that.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm going around telling secrets all the time or anything like that. But
for someone like me who doesn't process emotions naturally or normally, or that would be a lot, right?
Yeah, like them. It's a defense mechanism almost too, because I'm like, listen, I know that I can be a lot, especially when I'm feeling passionately about something. So here's your heads up on what's going on.
Interesting.
You know, so I think for the heart types, that's really the challenge. It's not really accessing the vulnerability. It's deciding, are you putting the walls up too high, or is there like zero barrier for entry? And I think that's really what it comes to for the heart types to be vulnerable.
And gut's adjacent to heart type, right? You're the next neighbor.
Yeah, gut is body, right? Like you're feeling it in your body, which is ironic because I found it difficult to say where I was feeling it in my body. But instinctually, I feel like I know my course of action immediately. I might sit and think about it if it maybe conflicts with my values, or if it conflicts with what I think I should do or how I feel. But I would say with your gut and with the way that you're supposed to use your gut, try and stick as close to your gut instinct as you can, because your body is guiding you. And that doesn't mean you should neglect your emotion. So if your gut instinct or your gut is telling you, do this thing and it feels uncomfortable, don't let your feelings or maybe over rationalize it. Because I think with gut, it's easier to go to the thinking center. Maybe that's just me, but I think it's easier for me to switch over into thinking, because I'm going to like turn over the gut feeling over and over and over in my head. And I don't know, I guess rationalize it so I can digest it. So I don't know that this is necessarily advice for the gut triad, but I would say always trust your gut.
What emotions help support that? Or
I mean, I think emotions can either support it or conflict it.
Yeah, right.
And that's the hard part, is that you need to leave space to feel the emotions regardless.
To sift through them.
So how do you differentiate then what a gut feeling is from an emotional feeling?
Yeah.
Because I think it's so easy to be like, oh yes, trust your intuition. Your intuition is right. But sometimes you just really want something really, really badly. And your ego figures out how to basically like copycat the voice of your instinct.
Yeah. I would say I recommend, especially now being able to access feelings in my body ever since you kind of like planted that bug. It's like, do connect with where it's hitting you in your body. I think that's like the first step. And if you are unfamiliar with it, that could be the easiest step to get in to differentiating between this is a gut instinct and this is a heavy emotion. Personally, for me, it is like the first thing that hits me. And if I pay attention, or if I am paying attention to that initial thought, then I can stick with that. The more that I turn it over and over and over and over and over before taking action or before deciding something is when I stray further and further away from that gut instinct that I had. And that's usually because I didn't feel right about it. So it's like, maybe I have to quit my job, and that's my gut instinct in the moment of whatever it is that made me think that or inspired the gut instinct. That doesn't feel good though. So now I'm going to sit and really deliberate on this because I don't want to find a new job. So it's that like, feel your feelings, give them space, let yourself have the outlet and talk or whatever you need to do to get it out. But then don't ignore the gut instinct that you had.
Do you think happiness feels more elusive because it's easier to accept that feeling?
Say that again?
I'm wondering if happiness feels like it's more elusive for a lot of folks, because happiness is one of those emotions that you can feel yourself all the way through because you want to savor it, and therefore it's easier to release. But if you are holding on to a negative emotion because you're trying not to deal with it, then it's more likely to pop back
longer.
up.
Interesting. Probably.
I think happiness is lighter by virtue, and there's something to that too. It is more ephemeral and it changes and shifts easier, I think. Whereas we're avoiding the heavier emotions, but again, our neutral should be contentment, right? That's where, so happy is actually not even contentment or peace. Happy is elation and it's extra joy. So I think that's interesting because we want to be happy and we're told we need to be happy. And really the median is peace, contentment. Like right. I always think of like just the water. You got the deeper underneath, but then, yeah, the splash comes back just as quick, you know? Anyway, yeah. So let's speak to that elusive piece though.
Nope.
No?
I was just stalling so you could, well, I wasn't just stalling. That was a good thought. I'm proud of that thought. But I still want to know what you would say now that Danielle and I have both gone about how to access your vulnerability as a thinking type.
It's hard. I think it's hardest for us for a reason because we want to logic our way through it. And it's problem solving. The hardest part for me is the over rationalizing because I know this isn't as big as it appears. I should be feeling, this is where the shoulda, woulda, coulda-ves, the holy trinity of shame. I should be a lot easier with this because look at, I have good things in my life. I do this with trauma a lot, you know, like I won't allow myself to feel it because people got it worse than me. Like,
right.
This is like, no, like so there's a lot more barriers I think I put up for myself as a thinking type to get to my emotions, you know, to actually even just recognize them, let alone sit with them. And so when I actually get to them and I have to sit with them, it's hard for me. I'm still dealing with this. This is a part of my life I'm coming to, but I'm realizing my power and the treasure that I've been seeking is in these emotions because that's what's going to bring the balance to my life. And that's where the magic happens, right? Where you're at your most powerful because everything's working together in sync. I'm still learning how to tap into them, not easily, but what's the word I'm looking for? To tap into them well or
naturally.
Naturally, but also with power, with intention, because I sit with them and I like what you were saying. To actually feel emotion and let it process, it takes only about 90 seconds. Like to literally sit with the emotion, to recognize it. I'm feeling it here, the sensations, the thoughts that are coming up with it. They say it takes about 90 seconds for the emotion to move through you. It might come back in a few minutes.
Right.
That's if you can just think to yourself, okay, 90 seconds. Give it 90 seconds. I'm feeling it present. That's helped me work through a lot of these intense emotions of lack, of not enoughness, out of being too vulnerable. So that's my tool or my memory trigger that's helping me to get to that place. Give your space to think to nothing, almost like meditation, to not judge it, to be objective, to just observe the sensation and the process of this 90 seconds. And that's where I really find I can step into my body, into my gut. What's my gut saying? What's my heart saying? Which is the furthest, I think, for me to get to.
What was the catalyst for you wanting to do that exploratory work?
I didn't want to. I was forced to through my spiritual awakening, through this whole process of the divorce, because you go into survival mode. I'm great in an emergency. I'm great.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. Like, guys, I don't want my doctor who's cutting me open to be emotional. I don't want that. Like, oh, I'm hurting him. Oh, like, this is going to be so rough. I want someone, who's removed. So everything serves its purpose, so I was in survival mode after this huge transition, this life thing, but where I started getting the most lost was when I was over-rationalizing everything, avoiding my feelings. People have gone through worse. This isn't cancer, it's just a divorce, but I wasn't allowing myself to... Exactly, but you hear it there, exactly. So the moment I allowed myself to slow down, that's another thing, because thinkers are always looking for the solution.
Geminis are
especially fast. Our MO is we like to be light by nature. We're mercurial. We don't like to hold on to things. We want to go to the next. We want to release and move on. And sometimes things take a while to be released. They have to be sat with and considered deeply. But yeah, I think the moment you give it space, which is so uncomfortable because that's where I found a lot of my escapism would happen. I want to, let's go drink, let's go out, have fun, when I should be sitting at home feeling, and it's just ick.
Yeah, but you're also like a slippery little guy.
Yeah,
so I get it. Like the divorce was a big part of it, but it would have been just as easy for you to be like, I'm going to numb this out. I'm going to keep moving.
And there were days that I did, yes.
Shove it away, you know?
And there's a piece here, give yourself grace. If you guys are going through something, this is where that self-compassion piece was really big for me, because to frame it around and give it that perspective of, it's okay to not be okay at feeling. It's okay to not be good at recognizing these parts of yourselves, but it happens over time. It's a process. We're growing in this way just like we're growing in anything else. You know what I mean? Give yourself compassion. It's really just allowing the hangman, just allowing things to flow. Instinctually, spiritually, you know what you need. Your soul knows what you need, knows the experiences that you need to experience to take you through that, to break you to the place where you got to crack the egg to get the egg. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it sucks, but once you're eating that egg, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Right now, Dave.
We're going to get chickens and we're going to live on a commune.
This is the second time a commune has come up.
Today?
No, Daniela and I were talking about that for the last time we were talking just straight up Enneagram. We were like, should we just get a commune? We should just get a
hippie people. New moon ritual under the moon.
I don't care. I want the people I want around.
Yeah. Sounds like heaven. So I don't know. How do thinkers access it? I think it's going to the bottom, literally working down the ladder. You guys were just talking. I have to stop over rationalizing, take myself out, shut that part down. I think logic serves its place because that's where I thrive, but I need to get in touch with how I feel. Where's that in my body? What's my heart saying too? And it's finding the balance between all those.
Here's what frustrates me.
Ooh.
I know that the world is set up for thinkers to succeed. How many times have you heard a woman can't be president? She'd be too emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that logic, like, think with your head, not with your heart. Like, you hear that all the time.
But the world's out of balance because we don't have enough heart. Yeah.
Exactly.
And to bring it full circle, it's out of a fear of vulnerability.
Yep.
Exactly. But that's like the whole thing. I don't think we're doing ourselves any favors by downplaying it and saying that like thinking is, the end all be all. It's not.
No.
Is it important? Yes, it is important to grab facts. And then,
Mind,
sometimes
body, spirit. Mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know. I just get like, I feel so much empathy towards like what a big decision it must have been for you to jump into this journey that you're on with getting in touch with all of that. And I also see where in the world you have had privilege for being cerebral because it's easier for you to gain that respect right away versus someone, this is going to sound very victim-y and it's not what I mean for it to sound like, but like anytime I'm really passionate about something, I'll start crying. I hate it. I hate being in a conversation where I know that what I am saying is valuable. It'll move the project along or whatever we're talking about, but then it's not going to get taken that way because I can't help but to cry.
It's just the way it comes up in you, wells up in you. Yeah.
Daniela's like doing a heavy nod. Is this something that...
Well, I mean, I think always being... So I credit my best friend for teaching me the logic side of things. Also a Gemini, also in the thinking and the head triad. She's a 5. And I used to be a lot more emotional before I really integrated the lessons that I learned from her, which were like, you don't have to be this way. And so I like effectively learned how to kind of navigate what I thought or considered to be an emotionally volatile household. And not to say that it was volatile by any means, like I did not live in any kind of like crazy situations, but emotions were always really high. And to be able to like not be worked up all the time benefited me immensely.
Survival. Yeah.
And then I think I just veered down that path of like, okay, emotions never served me. I'm just gonna, forever be more cerebral now. But really coming back to my gut has been my journey and my path all along because, the emotions were my household, my family. They weren't mine either. The logic, the thinking does not come innately to me. I'm good at it, but it's not really where I need to be processing. It is my gut. It is my intuition.
Okay. So this has been going on for a hot minute, right? I don't know if we're at two-parter status or not, but we'll see. So I'm curious to know what's your biggest takeaway from today that maybe you weren't expecting to come out in conversation?
I think for me, honestly, my aha moment of like, oh, no wonder I think good communication is not emotional. Because I, wanted to be good. I wanted the message, you are good. So learning that being a good communicator and a good debater, a good arguer, was to be diplomatic and less emotional makes sense to me. Because I think there is a little bit of a disconnect sometimes with me and being a Scorpio and having a harder time wanting to feel the emotion. Even though I have such a strong emotional literacy, I think still allowing myself to feel them, I feel like shouldn't be as hard for me.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, now you get to sit with that emotion.
Love it.
Lucky lady. The timer starts now. All right, Dave.
I think the thing I am taking away most of this is how fascinating it is. We are all literally just aspects of each other trying to find the center for us, what our center is. And it is really interesting how we are so well balanced. I keep thinking of this triangle, this triad, mind, body, spirit. But really, that's what we should be growing towards. That's what we should be striving for. You can't be too much of one thing to be healthy and happy. And there's always a flux. There's always, again, we're never one completely all the way, but we're just finding balance between all those. And I think that's really fascinating for me. I can see where I want more heart, but it's been very difficult for me getting to these places and going through it. And I wonder sometimes if I would have taken on this awakening like it was a choice, right?
Yeah.
But because it's been so hard. It's been so hard and difficult and uncomfortable, but at the same time it's been the most rewarding thing that has ever happened in my life. So being vulnerable, it's intense not to fear it though.
Yeah.
It's so necessary, and it is so important to come back to yourself in this way. You know what I mean? To reconnect and realign with yourself after years of not understanding that,
Yeah, and as you're talking about that too, I'm thinking like how much of an uphill battle it must be for you as a 7, because you don't have the feeling triad connected to you at all. Like one of your wings is thinking, the other one is instinct. One of your lines is instinct and the other one is thinking, so you don't have that really kind of access, whereas like Daniela has access. She's instinct at her core, then she's got emotion, and she's got thinking attached to hers, and I have one of each as well. So it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting to see all these overlaps. And I think honestly that's kind of my takeaway. I didn't really realize how much like bitterness I had, I guess, towards folks that sit in that thinking triad, because I feel like I have just been logicked at about my emotions so many times that it's hard for me to not be resentful and saying like, well, you shouldn't feel that way. It was just a joke. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Like, I think giving yourself grace is always good advice, but I also am realizing through this conversation that I haven't always been able to give as much grace to the thinking types as I would want to, because that is my wall, right? I thought I didn't have one at the beginning of this podcast, but now I realize I do. I don't want to get logicked out of feeling the way that I feel. So I guess that might
really
be
a lot of these thinking types just don't know how to relate to you.
Yeah, which is frustrating, because that is my superpower, is being able to relate to people and understand where they're coming from. So it can be really frustrating for me when I'm like, hello, Mr. 6. Like, I understand that you're scared of things, and I'm gonna, show you A, B, and C, a plan for every single one of the plans that you've made up on, like, how I am actually a safe person for you. And he can be like, I don't know about all that, So, like, it just feels, it can feel like wasted energy, but it doesn't have to feel like that. There can be a different vantage point to look at it. Yeah. So even when you have these tools available to you, it doesn't mean that you always know how to use them perfectly. But the more you can be vulnerable and have conversations like this about with people that you trust from different vantage points, the broader your scope becomes. So that's, I mean, just add this to the little logic of understand, like using these tools to understand where you're coming from, sure, but also where other people are coming from, because that's what enriches it. That's what opens it up. And that's what makes me stop being so mean to my little thinky friend.
We don't feel it anyway, so don't worry.
I take it all back. Get me out of here.
That's interesting, though, the way that you said, you know, you don't want to be logicked at and you are constantly having to explain your feelings. I feel the same way about gut instinct, that I feel like I have to provide some kind of logic or homework to what my course of action is. And sometimes I don't need to. And maybe that could be my proclivity towards thinking, too, because regardless, I'm going to have to prove to you or show you some work as to how I got there. And I don't have any. I do not have the work. I just know.
Yeah.
The logic doesn't always work out. Sometimes you say, hey, that guy that's running for president used to be a businessman. Wouldn't it be good if we put him in charge of the economy? Eggs are like $8 right now.
And they're not going down.
They're not going down.
Get chickens.
Get a commune.
Get a commune.
Don't come to our commune.
Maybe
come to our
I'm
commune.
glad we did this. This makes me so happy.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy. And now we get to go get partied up and get dressed up. We'll take some pictures.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight.
Same.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm sure we'll see you soon. This will probably be the last time for a minute together. Next time we might be in California, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, or we'll retreat somewhere.
Ooh, a retreat.
Yes, wouldn't that be fun?
That would be
Go to the forest, the mountains.
Once January 57th is over, we can talk some more about the plans for the rest of 2025.
Yes.
The year will bring.
Yay. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.